So we did a spiritual disciplines challenge about 6 weeks ago, and we talked about what is spiritual disciplines, what does it involve. We highlighted about 7 of them, and we said, hey, pick one, practice it for the next 6 weeks, put it as a part of your life, and then come back and share with us what happened. And these 3 were brave enough to come and talk to me about it, and we want to share those experiences with you. We'll be very interested in our breakout groups to hear how your experiences went, or if it's your first night with us, 1, welcome, and 2, it'll just be a great adventure to listen to how other people did over the last 6 weeks. It might even entice you to try it on your own. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining me. Jennifer, Catherine, Tina, talk to me, and I'll let whoever wants to go first. Which spiritual discipline did you choose, and how did it go? Who wants to go first? We'll go in order. All right, Jennifer.
I chose Silence and Solitude, which was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I have a lot of receiving messages and music and things like that, and I wanted more room to hear God's voice. So that's what I chose.
Put up kind of that antenna.
Yes.
And
Quiet everything else down.
it just doesn't seem easy.
No. It had to be a very conscious effort.
Makes sense. All right, Catherine.
So first I'm going to say, when we sat here 6 weeks ago, I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't do any of these well. What is wrong with me? But, we broke out in small groups and conversation got intimate, and I decided that service and worship were going to be the 2 that I focused on. I will talk about service at length later, so I'll just say that worship has been going really well. For me, that's meant turning on Christian music anytime I'm in the car, or just worshiping through music. And it's been really rewarding. It's actually trickled down to my kiddos, and now where they used to request like Morgan Wallen or whatever, it's now like, hey mom, will you play that Christian song that goes like this? And or I'll look in the rearview mirror and they'll be singing along to a Christian song. So that's been really, really cool to see.
That's awesome. I love, when we were talking about this before, that was my favorite part of the story, is just how the whole dynamic across your family has kind of changed. When you're leading change in your own life, and that just inspires others. I think that's awesome. Tina, which one did you pick, or which ones?
Well, mine does not sound very spiritual, but it was spiritual for me. I had someone in my small group after the session that talked a lot about what had happened in their lives when they turned off social media, and I thought, that's what I need to do. And so I discovered all the controls that you can do on your phone to limit the time in different social media apps. And that's what I selected for myself. It was pretty amazing. I'll talk more about the results, but it was very insightful and something that I think I will continue.
Let's name some names. Social media. Now, I know maybe there are some folks out there that can say, oh yeah, that platform, this platform. It just, maybe not name names, just give me a number. How many platforms were you on at that point?
Well, initially I thought Facebook, that's the one that I'm going to turn off. But I found that, if I can't do Facebook, then I'm going to do LinkedIn, or I'm going to do the app for the homes, Nextdoor, thank you. Or if I'm not doing that, I'm on Amazon, or I'm on, and the list went on. And I think I made, initially, it went from 1 to probably about 6 or 8 apps that I have limits on now that will notify me if I spend more than 1 minute or more than 15 minutes a day.
Oh, see, I love that, and that's why I asked, because
Yes.
It's so easy to say, oh, I'm not going to be on Instagram, or I'm not going to TikTok, or I'm not going to this, but it's sneaky.
Yes.
What replaces it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I love that. I can't wait to dive into that. Let's dive in a little bit. So biggest takeaway, and maybe we'll just work our way backwards. You were already talking, Tina, so help me out here. You spend some time putting the phone down, limiting what you're doing, and what happened?
Well, I do use my phone a lot for work. I'll be on a Teams meeting through my phone, so I can also use my tablet or my laptop. So initially, I was seeing the time that was spent on the phone and thinking, oh my goodness, that's terrible. But a chunk of that were work meetings. However, I saw a reduction of 30% a week in phone usage, which is huge. That's 30% of that time that was being wasted away. And the other thing that I saw is that it was easy to, I would give myself 1 minute on Facebook because you can't do less than 1 minute. So it's 1 minute on Facebook. So I think, it's been a few days since this started. I hope there isn't something critical that I'm missing. Just 1 minute, and your key things pop up to the top. And an aunt of my husband's has a brain tumor, and I saw that in social media. So I'm glad I saw that. But boy, it's easy to then start scrolling, and you don't even realize you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a wonderful exercise for me personally to eliminate that.
And in place of that time, what did you find? Was it more time with God? Was it peace maybe? Was it?
One of the things that I found is that and we were talking about this before the session, I would find myself going to my phone, even just emails, monitoring for things that I was watching for. I have my own business. I was watching for money to come in, payment of invoices. And I realized that instead of trusting God, that I was going to this social media or the phone itself. And so it opened my eyes to how much I was not talking to God about things and trusting Him. And with that turned off, helped me to just make that a constant conversation with God instead of a constant look at my phone.
Catherine, for you, we talked a little bit about worship, but you said that you dove into service.
Yes. Well, it's a long story. It's lasted about 6 weeks. But the key thing that I've learned in the last 6 weeks is that Satan will try his damnedest to throw you off course when he sees you trying to walk a spiritual journey. And he's done this to me like 3 or 4 times in the last 6 weeks. The first being, actually service has been on my heart for a year and a half, probably close to 2 years. And I finally texted the people I wanted to use as references. I finally filled out the form to serve at church. And that just felt like a huge weight off my shoulders. I felt so positive that I had just taken that step that I'd been wanting to do, being called to do. And I get a text back a day or 2 later, and the lady's like, thank you so much, but we don't have a need in the group, any of the areas you're interested in. And my initial thought, and what Satan probably wanted me to say, was like, well, I tried. Maybe later. But thankfully I didn't, because there's a happy ending to this story. I told her, let me just think about where else I might want to serve. And she ended up texting me back a day or 2 later and saying, hey, we need a backup in your number 1 area. And what I didn't mention is I had reached out to 1 Degree on Instagram to kind of initiate becoming a group facilitator here. So I thought, how perfect. I will do this every Monday night, and then I'll serve occasionally as needed at church. This is the perfect solution. So we continue the conversation, and she says, I see you've been baptized, but there's no date. Can you tell me the date? And I thought, do I need to call my mom? Like sometime in 1990, probably. And she's like, well, can you just tell me if it was by immersion? And in my head, I'm like, well, I know what immersion means, and I know that's not how I was baptized, but let me make sure we're on the same page. And she does tell me it means you go underwater and you come above. And she quotes scripture, and it's a nice message, but my wall starts going up because I see where this is going. And that's where it went. Ultimately, she did say, because you haven't been baptized by immersion, you can't serve here. And just because I feel comfortable with all of you, I'll say that I was really, really mad. And I think that Satan saw that opening, and he really just held on to it. And he was kind of in my ear, and I was telling people I love, like, can you believe this? And I ended up telling that lady, like, I need more, let me just think about it. Because she said, like, do you want to talk about it? Would you be interested in hearing what it's about? And I said, just give me some time. And honestly, I had no intention of texting her back. I had kind of written that off as something that I wanted to do anymore, because I was hurt. Bitter is probably a good word. So weeks go by, she continues to follow up with me, and I continue to ignore her. And until we were at church one day, and at the end of service, it wasn't about baptism, but we were asked to close our eyes and just listen to the song and kind of, what is God telling you in this time? And it was so clear. He was telling me, it's okay to recommit, to confirm what your parents had chosen for you, baptism. It's okay to do that. And I was excited. I was like, I'm going to do this, except life is busy. And I left church and I didn't do it. And so, I really was like, just not going to serve until Easter weekend rolled around. And my Sunday was jam-packed. I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it to church on Sunday, so we went on Saturday. And thank God, because it was the right place at the right time, the right message, and my mindset, I had the right mindset. We had nothing to do after church, and so I did. I got baptized on April 19th and recommitted. And you're probably thinking, like, great, now you can serve. Except the devil still had like a little piece of me, because I still had no intention of serving at the church. That ship had sailed. Thankfully, though, she somehow caught wind of it. And God is good, right? She sent me the kindest message. All my walls fell down, and I just said, yes, absolutely. I thank you for reaching back out. Thank you for your grace and your patience and your understanding and your pursuit, your relentless pursuit of me over these last few weeks. And her and I are meeting this week to kind of finalize everything, and so I can officially start serving. So I know that was a lot to say, but I just wanted to showcase all the ways that he tried to get in the way of me doing what I was being called to do, and what I had committed to doing when we sat here 6 weeks ago.
Wow. Yeah, I love the story of pursuit.
Yeah.
And I think it extends to so many of us. We try something and it doesn't go well. It's so easy to give up, and I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah.
But I love the story, like, not just the pursuit, but your determination to see it through. And I hope you see the credit that you deserve in that, because you stood up every time you got knocked down, and that's amazing.
It took me a while, but 6 weeks later, and we're almost to the finish line. And I am serving with 1 degree now. That has been very seamless. So for anyone who's interested, shameless plug.
That's amazing. And I love watching you lead those groups now and stepping into that as well. And yes, if anybody is interested in following her lead, please reach out after this. Silence and solitude.
I'm not known for being very quiet. So when we had that meeting and I knew immediately that that's the one that I needed, because I had been very aware of, I'm constantly talking maybe more at God than with God. I'm always listening to worship music. I'm really been concentrated on growing my faith, especially in the last 2 years. And I just felt this nudge of, I need to quiet down. Like I need to be able to listen more. And so that was sort of my inspiration for that, knowing that that was the one that I wanted to focus on. And I would say what I've gotten out of it the most, it's definitely not over. It's something that is going to take more time for me to perfect, so to speak, but a lot more peace. So it's given me room to have more of a conversation, and I just feel less rushed in a lot of areas. So it's the weirdest feeling, but driving to and from work with no music on, and that's a lot of time. I'll be listening to music, and then I'll also be talking, to God and everything. And I was like, no, I need to minimize. I need to be more focused. So it's definitely been an interesting exercise.
has the silence brought that hearing to you that you were hoping for?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Still
yet,
waiting?
but I feel that it's worth continuing. And I'm trying to be patient with myself that, that, okay, how many years have I gone without being maybe silent enough? So I'm not expecting something instantaneous. I viewed it as the start of a longer journey.
I like that. I think it's hard not to stomp our feet and say, but I put in the 5 seconds of effort. Like, where are you now? But I think wait is a hard part of the Christian journey. Patience, never pray for patience is what they say. So, but I can tell over the last couple of weeks, because your world is always busy, but there's a level of calm in that now. So I love that for you. I am a 6-week challenge failure. Anybody else? Would you say you're a 6-week anybody? No, just me? Okay, thanks.
Just a work in progress.
No, it's not a failure to work right, but I picked prayer. Just to be vulnerable and honest, I picked prayer, and I was like, man, I'm going to enjoy the 6 weeks of saying I have a reason to really stop, to really spend that time, and the devil will get. And I have been the busiest and the most going on, and there's been times. What I find is interesting, because God is so good. The times where I've said I'm going to pray, and that's not probably even true. The times where I just had to pray because something was going on, and I felt like I was the most vulnerable and broken about those prayers because I just don't have time, and I wasn't making the time, but I had finally hit that wall, and it was time to just spend time saying, here's what's going on. Not that you don't already know, but I just need to talk to you. And I need to feel that you're here and with me in it. And that, I guess, in some ways has been a success. And that's the interesting part about this process. I think we've heard this already is, define success, right? Is it that I learned something? Is it that I got closer to God? Is it what? But I think no matter where it's been, and I hope it's the same for you guys, wherever you are in this journey, in this process, something has happened over the last 6 weeks. Whether you practice a new spiritual discipline, whether you double down on one that you've been, or maybe you just tried it once. But I hope that there's some sort of story that you're walking away from. Okay, real quick, rapid fire, so that we can get everybody into the groups. One positive or one kind of warning, if you will, for those that want to try these. Any tips, tricks, or kind of things that you have for anybody? Tina, you can go first.
You can manage your social media access right on your phone. It's amazing. If you don't know how to do it, see me afterwards. I do know the iPhone version, so see me and I can help you. But it really was transformational for me to have that external reminder. And the other thing I'd say is that I realized that things that we realize that we need to do less of in our lives are probably idols. They're in the way between us and God. And that if we're being nudged to spend less time in them, it's probably because it's keeping us from that closeness to God.
That's smart.
I'd say my one kind of piece of advice would be, if you're like me and something's been on your heart for a year and a half plus 2 years almost, what is that first step that you need to take in order to become who you want to be in the future? For me, it meant sending a message on Instagram to one degree and to finally fill out that form. And honestly, although there's been ups and downs over the last 6 weeks in my pursuit of serving at the church, like none of it would have happened, and I wouldn't be sitting up here today had I not just taken that first step. So I would just encourage you to, in 6 weeks from now, you may be so glad that you did.
I think that part of what came out of this also was realizing, this is all trying to draw us closer to God. Mm-hmm. And so missing some of the things, worship, big thing for me. Even though I would drive to work in silence and I would not be listening to worship music in the morning when I'm getting ready, but I miss that. So I need to find a different time for the silence and the solitude, but I don't want to lose the things that are working for me and that are feeding me. So I really did miss that part. So I guess being open to trying different things and latch on to what works for you. It doesn't mean we're going to be good at all of them or that we need all of them, but so that was in my.
No, I like that. And being open to change and make it and realizing your first attempt, I still love Janet, I love you. I love your when we were up here last time talking about this, fasting takes planning. You cannot just be like, I'm just not gonna eat and expect it to go well at first. So you have to have a plan. But all these things and they're up on the screen in case you're wondering or you just need a review. So the choices were Bible study, fellowship, worship, prayer, silent solitude, generosity, fasting, and service. And if you did not get a chance to practice this, that's kind of our challenge to you, ongoing, not just for 6 weeks, although you're welcome to share after 6 weeks. Pick one, or maybe pick a new one. But try these spiritual disciplines. As you can tell, in a short time, they can do a lot, or they can make a huge difference in your life. They can do a lot in your life, in your small groups tonight. I hope you get a chance to share about your own experiences and learn from others. But with that, can I get, well, first of all, thank you, ladies. You're all amazing. Thank you so much for being brave enough to come here today. But Tina, did you want to release to our breakout groups?
Yeah, so let's release. We have